Hi there, this is Dave Brown from BLI, and I'd like to thank you for joining us for this training video on how to run a facilitated discussion and one-on-ones using the BLI platform. There are going to be three prerequisites for attending this course. Number one is you need to have experience already delivering a BLI class via WebEx, preferably as your own host. As an alternative, it is okay if you have watched the BLI WebEx hosting video, although again, experience would be preferred. You also need to have a BLI WebEx account, and for those of you who have been working with this lately, you should know by now that the link for this is bli-meetings.webex.com. And what's new for this particular format is that you also need to have an account with yellowschedule.com. We can set that up for you. And that would be the preferred way to go so that we have a list of all of our trainers in one place. But if you have your own Yellow Schedule account, that will be okay too. Our agenda for today is going to be to talk about three things, specifically the setup, which is going to come in two parts. We're going to show you how to set up your Yellow Schedule account as well as your WebEx account. We're going to show you how the facilitated discussion part of the format works, which will be in the form of a WebEx event, and how to run one-on-ones in your own private WebEx room. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing we want to talk about is how to set up your Yellow Schedule account. I'm logged into Yellow Schedule, and the first thing we need to do is just set up your own time zone. Very simply, under Settings, you're going to go to your own details, My Settings, My Details on the left. And at the bottom, you're going to set your time zone there. Once you've set it to whatever it is, click on Save, and that setting will be saved for you. The next thing you need to do is set your free and busy time, your availability time in other words, which we do in the calendar portion. So if you look for the tabs across the top, we get Dashboard, Calendar, which we're going to click on, and Contacts. And instead of having this entire list of names, you should see only your own name here. And on the right edge, as you hover over your own name, the right end of that, you're going to see a down pointing arrow. You're going to click that, and you're going to click on Working Hours. The idea here is that you want to set your working hours to whatever is going to be reflective of your availability for those one-on-ones. And this is where we're going to send out invitations for people to log into Yellow Schedule, and they're going to schedule their 15-minute slot with you during that available time. So the idea is to set this as to as limited a time slot as possible. For instance, in my case, if I was delivering a 1-hour facilitated discussion at 9 a.m. on Friday, followed by 2 hours of one-on-ones, I would just set up that 2-hour slot from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. So you may be doing different days, more days, fewer days. Just bear in mind that if you are working in one time zone, but you have scheduled meetings with people in other time zones, you obviously need to make sure that your availability reflects that. So if I wanted to make myself available for people on the West Coast to join me at their 10 a.m., I would need to change mine to 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. I hope that makes sense. Again, once you have that all set up for the week, you'll click on Save to save that. I'm going to cancel because I don't want to accept those changes. And let's move on to our private meeting site. So in BLI Meetings, bli-meetings.webex.com, you're going to log in to your own, using your own credentials, which is going to bring you to a place where, depending on if you're using Modern View or Classic View, you're either going to see options on the left here or your tabs across the top. In either case, you want to go to where you have the options, preferences rather. So it's preferences here in Classic View, preferences on the left for Modern View. and you're going to go specifically to the My Personal Room area. And again, in either view, there are only two things we have to change here. Number one, your personal room link. You want to make sure that says not just your first name like it does for me, but your first name followed by your last name. No spaces, no dots, no nothing else. Just first name followed by last name. If your last name includes a hyphen, it's fine to include that. But otherwise, we want this to be exactly the same for everyone. This should look exactly the same as the title of your personal room. So mine says Dave Brown, therefore my first and last name are just Dave Brown, no spaces. The second thing we must set for this in order for these one-on-ones to work is that you need to have automatically lock my room turned on and set to 0 minutes. Automatic must be turned on, automatic lock must be turned on and set to 0 minutes. And this is going to ensure that only one person can come into your room at a time and only after you've invited them. So the whole goal for this is to keep people private and anonymous so that nobody is walking into the room at the same time somebody else comes into the room. So it's very much like a clinician's office would be. Okay, so that's the setup. Once you've done that, you're ready to go. So I'm going to now move over to my WebEx event, which I have set up here. Video is on. For this type of event, it really depends on the provider or the client if they want to have video or not. For the first couple that we're doing, this is really emulating a conference call. These folks are accustomed to calling in, not seeing anything, so they may or may not want video as an option. So work with the client and the provider to figure out if they want to have that additional functionality or not. And let's just talk about some of the other options here. Again, it was a prerequisite that you've either done self-hosted WebEx with BLI or at least watched the video and you have a good understanding of it. Please make sure you always have that BLI WebEx hosting checklist by your side so you can go through and check all the settings and make sure everything is right. We want to ensure, again, privacy and anonymity for all of our participants here. Once you're in, a couple things you want to do. If you might want to check and see if Q&A is turned on, you can turn that off for everybody, but you can also just instruct your participants to click on the X at the right end of that panel. And if they don't already have it, you can ask them to check across the bottom for the chat window or the chat bubble, and that will pull their chat panel up. And you can just ask them to select all panelists by default to ensure that they're able to chat with you if they'd like to use that feature. Now, one of the unusual things about this meeting for us is the fact that our clients are requesting that these folks be allowed to talk. So unlike most of the time when all of our participants are muted by entry, these folks will not be. So we're going to take a look now at what our attendees look like. I only have one attendee in my WebEx right now, but in order to see them, I can click on the View All Attendees link here on my right after I've enabled my participant panel here with the little icon that looks like a person with 3 chips on his shoulder. And I can see I have one participant in my room, and if I need to, I can allow that person to speak if he or she has connected to the audio portion of their meeting. But one other thing it's important to understand is when they are connected via audio, we will also have the option of muting them, which should be used only if necessary. So if there's someone who has put the entire group on hold, not realizing that there's hold music playing in the background, or they have a bunch of noise going on and they've completely forgotten that they have their audio line open, you can find out which one is making the noise. There will be an indicator on this panel here. You'll be able to see where that noise is coming from, and you simply click on that person's name and click on mute. So that's really the most important thing you need to know about how to manage your attendees in this facilitated discussion format. You, of course, can also enter any chat messages here as well. We will be communicating the links they need to, number one, set up an appointment with you, and also to get into your private one-on-one room. But I would recommend you be prepared also to paste those things here. So you can simply use the all attendees option here to post that so everyone can see it, or anything else that you want to share with them. And this is your 1 hour facilitated discussion. At this point, let's say that you have ended that discussion, you're ready to end that meeting. You can simply end the event, clicking on the red X button. Again, remember, if you're presenting any slides or anything, all of these buttons are going to show at the top, just to show you quickly what that looks like. And we may or may not be sharing anything. We don't really expect you to have to be sharing any slides here, but notice that when I did that, all my buttons jumped up to the top here. So remember that when you're looking to do something, and make sure you remember also that your participants will still see their buttons at the bottom. If you're telling them how to get to the mute button or the chat button or anything else, that will all be on the bottom for them. So if you're presenting, that end event option is going to be in your ellipsis button all the way on the right here. Click on end event, and just click the end event link. And then you're ready to start your private session. So now we're going to open your personal room. Again, you have the option of being in modern view, which is what it looks like here, or classic view. In classic view, you would want to be on that My WebEx tab, and you'll have that big prominent Start Meeting button. And this will by default start that open private meeting room. Now, just to show you what it looks like when someone joins that room, I'll flip over to my other computer here, and I'm going to join after I've started my private meeting room here. You'll notice it looks very similar from your perspective. It's going to look pretty much exactly like the other meeting did, except now you're going to have total control over who can join. So this new participant is just joining now. And they are now in the meeting with me. Now the difference is going to be when you have turned that lock button on that I showed you earlier, you're going to get a little notification in the upper right hand corner that says PJ is waiting to join the meeting, and you're going to be able to click to allow that one person to join. And each 15 minutes, once this scheduling thing is set correctly, you're going to get another person waiting in the lobby for you, waiting for them to enter. Obviously, you want to wait until the first person has left before you let the next one in. I hope this has been helpful, and obviously please reach out to your account manager or me, Dave, if you have any questions prior to starting your first facilitated discussion. This is a brand new format for us at BLI. We expect to be doing many more, but obviously since it's so new, there's going to be a lot of new information coming down the pike very quickly, but this is the latest and greatest that we have so far. Thank you very much.